Fantastic. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Um, this is nothing special. I have one of my character flaws is I like to use the latest and greatest of things. I like to be on that edge, I, and it's been that way for a long time. And today, you'll see that the title that I shared there is Spring AI 2.0.0 milestone 4, which I think came out last week. Let's go take a look. It actually might have been. We're going to go to calendar spring.io. We're going to look at when did 2.0 milestone 4 come out. Spring AI. There's 104. Let's hit this button. Spring AI. Yeah, it's moving forward. We're expecting the release, the GA release. There's milestone 3 was on the 17th. And yeah, the 26th. So it came out on the 26th. And here's part of my character flaw is I switched a workshop to use 2.0 instead of Spring AI. And the problem is I was also using Embabel. Embabel is another framework built on top of Spring AI. And it wasn't really a problem. But I gave myself more work than I needed to. I was like, hey, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to play with these things. And they're not compatible. So the Embabel is not yet compatible with the Spring AI 2.0 line. So I had to split things up for the workshop that I did on Saturday. The workshop went well. It was fun. Like we worked through it. But since then, I've continued to modify it. I'm going to keep on messing with it, and I'll put it back up. So all I'm doing right now is walking through this workshop, and I'm just going to let you kind of play along. I'm happy with what it's doing so far, and I'm just making changes. And as I make changes, I will push those out to do the update. So yeah, it's just Spring AI agents. What we're doing is we're just building this local developer sidekick, something that's going to help us do code is kind of the idea. You're probably doing that. If you're watching this, you're probably doing something like that. But I don't have cloud money. I have Raspberry Pi money. So I'm doing this locally. And when I did the workshop, I know that this works on a 8 gigabyte laptop. I had a Microsoft Surface that only has 8 gigs of RAM, and it worked. And I actually was using a larger model since Saturday. I found a better model that actually performs better with a much smaller footprint. So let's just kind of walk through. This is step into, hey, we're using Spring Boot 4.0.5, which also I think came out last week. 4.0.5 came out the same day on the 26th. And yeah, of course, we're going to take the latest and greatest. Spring AI 2.0.4, Embabel 0.3.4. I think that's still the latest. And look at me, I'm already like itching, wondering if there's a new version. Let's see. Nope, still the same. All right, so we're on the latest and greatest. And yeah, and I used Olama and Quen 2.5. And what I did was I set up Olama and Quen 2.5. I set it up to be used in Docker. So you had to have Docker. Let's make sure that I have that as kind of the requirements. All right, I didn't really document that. I think it's in the repository, but this is what we're going to do, like simple hello world, like, hey, just regular Spring AI. Then we'll talk about like the differences, the limitations of the models, and how we can add more information. Then we'll go into, more. Like this is where we jump into Embabel and addressing some of the problems. So each one of these kind of builds on top of each other. We're going to address some of the problems with just regular RAG. We'll do Embabel, and then we'll kind of take it just one step further and get into that kind of like code assistant. We're just scratching the surface, but it'll be an interesting little journey. So let's go for it. Requirements. I do have Docker Compose in there. See, and now I need to update this too. So I'm going to go and modify the doc. I won't do that now. But I want to make that Java 26 because that's who I am. You do only need 8 gigs of RAM and an editor. So this is what we've done. Let's go and take a look at what this looks like. I'm going to go here. I'm going to make this bigger, and I'm following the steps. Infra. If I take a look at the Docker Compose, I think I have a Docker. There you go. Cat Docker Compose. We will be able to see like, hey, I've just got a Docker image. I got an Olama image, Olama latest. Pass the port through so I can hit it locally. I commented out the NVIDIA stuff, and yeah, keep it up. And we have a little health check. And then I also use Redis. I'm using Redis for my vector store, for my search, and we're moving forward. I got some volumes. So the whole idea is Docker, Compose, run it in the background. Fantastic. We did the first step. And then what we're going to do is inside of that Docker image, inside of the volume that's attached to the Docker image, we're going to pull down these models. We're going to go ahead and do these steps again. And this is the idea is this should be an easy workshop for anybody to use. Not anybody. 8 gigs. I believe that you could still do this workshop if you are on a 4 gig or an 8 gig Raspberry Pi. It might not be blazing fast, but it'll still get done. The whole idea is to be able to explore. So I've got Docker running locally. I've just pulled down this Quen 2.5 coder, which is plenty good for this. And I pull down the Nomic embed text, which we'll get to. So let's go ahead and verify the infrastructure. I like just having these commands that I can copy paste if you're doing the workshop. We'll paste that here. Good. Actually, let's do it this way. I'm doing it this way. You don't have to, but just so that we can see it. I've got the 2 models that are in that Docker instance, that Olama instance that's running inside of Docker. So that works. And then I make sure that I've got Redis. I have the Redis CLI installed. And if I do Redis ping, so it's hitting those Docker instances. The 2. Let me do this here. Docker Compose. Yes. Right, there's the instance, Olama and Redis. Fantastic. We're in good shape. So now I can go and see. I've been working through this. I'm streaming because another streamer, Hero, over at Coding with Strangers, he kind of like, he double dog dared me. So that's why we're here. But let's jump in. Just show that, hey, I've got Redis running. I got Redis Insights, and there's my embeddings. So we're in a good spot. So far, so good. The idea is that this lab, you will follow along the lab. It'll be posted on GitHub. It's just a Spring Bean, which we do, a Spring Boot REST API that talks to an LLM. It's one dependency, one bean. It's pretty simple. There's no APIs because we're using Olama. So we're not worried about tokens and how much it's going to cost. No, we had to sign up for anything. And we'll talk about that chat client. So this seems like it needs to be bigger. So I'll have to fix this, just the presentation of it. But this is kind of just one part of the code. We're talking about just that chat client builder. We're injecting it into a constructor. So this is, I think, pretty par for the course. If you've been doing Spring Boot, this should seem like an easy enough exercise to get started. I didn't have to put the default system here. This is the main part. We're just getting our chat client through our constructor. And this maps to the actual code that you would check out if you're doing the workshop. And if I jump here, I think everything's still the same. I'm in lab 1. I'm looking at chat controller. I've actually worked ahead a little bit. I'm making changes. I want to be consistent. So there's our chat client. That's good. I'm just walking through. I'm not going to take time for everybody to join along. We're just going to walk through and review it, make sure that everything looks good. The next thing we're talking about system prompts. We had that default system. This is the part where we're getting to tell the LLM how to behave, how to respond. So in this case, with every prompt, it's also going to set this system prompt. So no matter what I ask it, we're going to say, hey, no matter what the prompt is, you are a helpful Java developer assistant. You give concise, accurate answers. So that just understand that that's kind of that first conversation. Before you get the prompt, here's the first conversation. I want you to behave this way. But we don't have to do that all the time. This is my default system prompt. So every prompt that comes in, this is what that's the way the LLM is going to behave. So the next thing, like we can make a call. So we're going to add, and I need to update this. Let me see if I did it. Yeah. So we're going to add a endpoint, just a regular MVC, Spring MVC endpoint for a chat. So it's got a default property here, but you can pass in your own conversation. So the prompt is here. Remember that default system prompt is going to be injected. We can pass in the user prompt. That's what you're passing in. We're going to make the call, do the thing, and then we're going to get our response. Let's see what it looks like. Hey, welcome in, welcome in. Happy to see you. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're going to peek over here at our configuration. The configuration was pretty straightforward. We can go, yeah, it looks just like that, but we're going to go and just double check that my documentation matches the actual code, and it looks like it matches. So we're in a good shape here. That's how it's wired. So the Spring application has Spring AI, and all we're doing is passing in this configuration. This is the default base URL, so I don't really need that. And these are just some options. I don't have to have these two. There's defaults. This is just kind of as a placeholder because I'm going to ask you to change some of these later on. So far, so good. And now we do some of the hands-on stuff. So this is where we're going to go into the lab. Let me kind of fizzle here. Let's control clear. And I just want to walk through the steps. Hey, we're in that lab one. Let's start MENW, Spring, root, run, make it easy to get started. It's running in the background. It's going to connect to that Docker instance. The first call, it's going to load that model into memory. So the first call is going to take a little bit longer than the rest. So here we can do it this way. That's the curl call. I'm going to use the HTTP client. I like that a little bit better. We'll jump that over here. We'll say this. Make it hopefully so you can see it. Can you hear me okay? Can you see everything okay if you're joining? Please let me know. Here I'm making the call. Again, this first call is going to take a little bit longer, and that's okay. It's loading that model. That model is actually pretty tiny. I think it was like 900 megabytes to download. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm assuming that's the audio. It's a new setup here. Everything's a new setup. All right. So what we did was we said, explain sealed classes. Now remember, that's the prompt that I passed in. That's the prompt that I passed in. But the system prompt was also there. And the system prompt said, hey, you're a Java developer assistant. So it gives us this nice explanation on sealed classes. And it even gives us a code example. That's powerful stuff. But again, this is all running locally. That first call is going to take a little bit longer. But if I do it again, that should go fairly fast or faster. The model will actually get pulled out of memory after 5 minutes. That's not real fast. But also it's running in Docker. I want to see how fast this is. Not real fast. That's quite some time. So the next time I do this, I'm going to do a time right here. Just to see how long it takes. To see how long this little workshop takes. But we're going through pretty fast. If you've got questions, as always, when you come to my house for dinner, if you leave hungry, that's your fault. But if you're here in the live stream and you've got questions, feel free to ask. Throw them in chat, and I'll try to get to them. Don't leave hungry. All right, so we did it. I'm going to do it one more time with a time. I want to see how long it's taking each one of these calls. The model that we're using is this Quinn 2.5 Coder 1.5B. We've given it some options to see, modify some things. but this is pretty easy. Not a lot of code to get out of the box. And hopefully this is a good start. I've made some assumptions in this workshop that you understand AI a little bit. You've played with the ChatGPT. You have coding experience. So it took 30 seconds. It took 30 seconds to respond. And to be honest, that's very similar to what I would do on a Raspberry Pi. So we'll keep on going. But I'm okay with that. Just to be clear, I'm okay with that. So let's go back to the lab. We did this. We got our response for the sealed classes. And now we have an exercise. So we validated that things are set up with the code that we got. Now the next thing is I'm going to say, hey, modify the system prompt to make the assistant respond as a pirate. That's just always a clever one. It's really easy to see if it's worked. So I give a little hint. We're going to change line 36 in the chat controller. There's line 36. Respond in the style of a pirate. Did I do that already? No. Here's line 36. Things match. I'm happy with that. Respond. Changing that default system prompt. Respond in the style of a pirate. Okay, so because I made a change to the code, I'm going to just bump over here, just restart it. I'm pretty sure I said that here, right? Restart the lab. And then let's hit that chat. So that chat endpoint, there's a default, right? This is where we're going to test out that default value. I just said hello. So our application is up. We're just going to jump over here and we're going to say, talk to the app. Through that MVC app. We didn't pass anything in. We just said, hello. It said, hey there, matey. How you doing? What's up? I'm ready to get into some coding fun. You got any questions or projects you're trying to tackle? Fantastic. Piratey, Java developer assistant. Perfect. We blended things. So that works. So far, so good. If you see anything that I'm missing, please let me know. The next exercise, we're going to add an explain endpoint with a focused prompt template. So we're adding a totally different endpoint called explain. And the whole idea on this one is you're a helpful developer advocate. You give concise, accurate answers. Respond as if teaching a 100 level Java course. So that's the system prompt that we're overriding. So it shouldn't respond. This explain shouldn't respond like a pirate. And we're also passing in this template. We're saying explain the Java concept. So we're expecting a Java concept to come in as one of the parameters. And we want this little model to explain that concept. So by default, this is going to do hash map, right? We know to the dot system. It's the default system prompt. Let's jump back here. Let's go and let's add that endpoint. Oh, I already did it. But that's as much as a copy and paste. So it's a little bit of an exercise. Nobody should struggle at this point. The harder stuff is later. So copy and paste, we did it. Fantastic. And because that was already there, it should already be running. So now I can say, hey, just explain. Remember we had our default was hash map. So this should work. Should not be too difficult. I expect it'll take 30 seconds. And I'm wondering why. I wonder if there's something I can do, because 30 seconds, if I'm trying to encourage people to do this locally, to run Olama in a Docker image, then maybe I should find a better way, make it so that it doesn't take 30 seconds for each prompt. So I'm going to take that as a note. And I'm going to run this one more time with that timer, because I think it's going to be about 30 seconds for every one of them, is my guess. All right. So we got a nice response. Fantastic. Certainly dive in. Java concept. We're not talking like a pirate. That's good. Hash maps, the collection. Fantastic. Fast access. No ordering. Let's do this one more time. I think it's going to take 30 seconds. I want to do better than that. But we're just walking through. Let's make sure that it works first, right? Make it work. Make it right. And then make it fast. So again, I think it's going to take 30 seconds, but we'll wait for it. It's not difficult. But I think that's the last thing in lab 1 exercise. Oh, we got some tests. We give some actually. What happened here though? Why is this not what's supposed to be here? Something is wrong in my docs, so I'll fix that. After the lab 1 exercise, I have a blank page. Let's see what it is. My slides are all in Markdown. Took 42 seconds. Okay. That's the info readme, which we're okay with. Let's go to the docs readme. We looked at that. I want to go to, nope, not that. Here we go. Let's go to the lab 1 exercise. We did that hands-on. We did that. Our prompt, style of pirate, chat, fantastic. We added the endpoint. And after that, what happened? Nope. No, that's not what I wanted to edit. This is what I wanted to edit. I was trying to make my notes a new page. That should be a real-time fix. Fantastic. Now we can validate. There were some tests in there. So let's just go back here into the lab. We're going to stop it. W being test. It's got a couple of tests in there, or at least one. Let's make sure it runs. Fantastic. Chat endpoint returns an on-empty response. Application contact loads with Llama configured. We're in good shape. That might not be the best place to put it. I should probably put that earlier. Lab 1 key takeaways. Spring Dynamics. I mean, it was pretty easy to do. We talked about the chat client being the kind of default. That's the easy way to do things. System prompts, controlling the personality. That's the way I always think of these, is that you're kind of changing the personality. You can give different personas to the prompts so you can get a different response. You can say, act like you're a mom, act like you're in charge of keeping this room clean, etc. And you'll get a different response. Llama's running things locally, no APIs. So again, I like to run these things locally. Lab 2, context-aware document agent. It feels like this should all be on the same page. It feels like this should be the title of the second one. So let's go down here and go to that. We did the validate. Lab 1 key takeaways. I did this. This is just my notes. Lab 2. I'm going to move these. So I have a page with just notes, and I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this. So this is a cosmetic. I'm using Reveal.js. With Markdown. That makes it nice and easy for me. So let's go peek at that real quick. Much better. And those notes, right? Those notes, not there. Inside of the lab, I also have speaker notes. So I know, like, as we're doing it, or as anybody's delivering it, they know how long each of the sections is going to take. And that's what we do. All right, the problem with vanilla LLMs. Ask an LLM, what's our team's convention for error handling? It will hallucinate. So even with what we had before, actually, we'll lose it here. It doesn't know your code base. This RAG retrieval fixes this by grounding the LM in your actual documentation. So I'm going to add a couple of steps back here where we did this. We did the explain. notes. Oh, I didn't have the, I didn't do this part. I want to add a section, right? I said here in the notes, oh, here, hey, there's exercise 2. We did the override, but I didn't do the exercise 2. So let's fix that. Let's do that. We start that one. And then bash. What I want to make sure that you do is hit that endpoint. But I'm going to put a couple of commands in there. ADP 8080. The first thing it is explain, and that'll explain hash map. But then I want you to do this. I want you to hit HTTP 8080. I want you to hit chat, and I want you to do message equals what is new in Java 26. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to start up this lab again because these are things I want to do. These are things that I had in the demo or in the workshop that I'm not doing. So one of the points that I want to make here in the workshop is, hey, this explain should work. That'll take 40 seconds. We're not going to do that. But I want to ask this question. What is new in Java 26? Remember, we're running Quen 3. So I'll do this time. We're running Quen 3. And I'm saying, what's new in Java 26? That Java 26 just got released in March 17th, I believe. So it's doing its thing. Let's go take a look at the model that we're running. Quen was Quen 2.5 coder released. 2.5 coder. It doesn't say release date, updated 10 months ago. It's been downloaded quite a bit. Let's see. There's a bunch of models. Does it say the release date? The point that I want to make it's 2024. I don't know when this was released. I know how to find that out. Let's do this. Okay, here's the response that we got. Talking about Java 26. Hey there, mate. The newest thing. Yep, because we're doing the chat. It's getting a new shiny sword for the Wizard of Java. Records, right? Records have been out for a while. Pattern matching. It's saying that these are the things that are new in Java 26. Well, these are not. This is a hallucination. This is an example of a hallucination from this model. So the next thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to space these out, HTTP, is we're going to say 8080 chat message. What is your data cutoff date? We're just going to ask the model. Okay, I'm going to put a time in front of it. I'm asking this model, Quen 3 or Quen 2.5 coder, what's your cutoff date? And your response. As an AI model, I don't have personal opinions or preferences. However, my data cutoff was October 31st, 2023. So here's the thing. Java 26 didn't exist in 2023. So the model has no idea. What the model did was it made something up, right? It's just doing this statistical, like what's happening, and it guessed. That is an example of a hallucination. So it says, it's time for me to update and grow with the latest information. Yes, of course. So those two, that's my lead in to this next section. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I add those. Let's make sure that those show up. right? And then we'll talk about this. Like, hey, what do you do when the data in your model is old or it has nothing to do, right? You want these models to understand what you're working on or your business or your systems. And if it doesn't have that information, it's just going to make something up. So you got to be really, really careful. So now we move on. Hey, we can do this. I'm going to move this test. I should do that after we start it or before we start it. But the key takeaways: yes, yes, yes. And now one of the key takeaways is models have a cutoff date, right? Date. Fantastic. Things that we need to know. Now we're jumping into lab 2, right? Context aware. How do you give these models? The model is still powerful. It knows how to do a lot of things, but how do you make it better? How do you give it your information? Let's do that. So for the problem with vanilla LLMs, what's your team's it doesn't know. It's going to hallucinate. We saw that. So this is one way we can do this retrieval augmented generation to fix this by giving the LLM the additional context it needs to answer the question. All right, what do you build? We're going to just ingest. We're going to ingest some data into Redis so we can use it. And then we're going to use that data in a vector database, a vector store. It's already got its embeddings done. We're going to use that information and we're going to send it. Just like we had a system prompt and a user prompt, now we're going to stuff some additional information into what goes to the LLM. We're going to say, hey, use this information to help with your answer. We're going to augment the LLM with that context. And this hopefully will generate a grounded, better, accurate answer, less hallucinations. So key concept is this RAG pipeline. We're going to take a document in this case. We're going to chunk it up. We're going to slice it up. We're going to do some embedding, which is convert the text into a vector, right? These floating point numbers, which are going to align and make it easy for us to find relevant information so that when a user asks something about a document or about a policy, then we can say, hey, I've got a vector database that's going to be able to help with that answer. So we do a similarity search. We grab the nearest chunks, the things that we think are relevant, and then we pass it along with the query to the LLM in order to get our answer. I could probably make that pretty. So let's go into our code. Here's the key concept in this. We're going to do a document ingestion. So this is all done for you, right? So out of the box, or in the workshop, I'm doing this. Hey, when the application is up and running, we're going to do this ingest documents. So we're going to pull all the stuff from this docs path, and we're going to roll through each of the documents. So we're going to do this data ingest for every document that's in our docs path. Fantastic. And we're going to store it in our vector store. Let's go take a look at what that actually means. I'm jumping out of lab 1 because now we're in lab 2. So let me go over here. I'm just walking through, making sure that all the changes that I made since Saturday are working. Let's go into lab 2. And then when we're done here, we'll have something to publish, and you can take it for a spin, give me feedback. I'd love that. We're in lab 2. First thing I want to do, let's do this test first, like make sure it's working. I got some tests. We're in place. Things look good. All right, that's concerning. We can fix that. Fantastic. My one test worked. So now MAW spring boot run. Start it up. We expect it to work. What is this? Oh, that's typical. And let's keep going. We can take a look at the code in lab 2. Stuff like this. Main resources. Nope. Java. I have a controller. There's my ask. I have a config. This is where I'm pulling things in. I'm going to slide this over. I want to make sure that this is aligned. Here's my chat client. That's fantastic. My vector store config. I had to set up, so here was the first thing, using Spring AI 2.0.0 M4, the Redis vector store the bean wasn't working. So I had to work through that and do a little bit manually. But I need to make a note. I'll do my note over here. Let's open a ticket. Open an issue. I'm going to put this as a note to self. Note to self. Open an issue around the Redis vector store starter. Okay, that's for everybody. It's there. I had to do it manually. And then let's jump into our service. Our service, I have our document ingestion pipeline. Pipeline may be a little bit big of a word for what we're doing, but here's our event listener. I just want to make sure that this is all lined up. That looks the same. Our documents found, fantastic. What we do, I can go up here. We'll look at that docs path. It's again docs. So source, main resources, docs. This is our class path docs. So we have some markdown here that we can reference. And this is simple, but part of the exercise is you can put whatever you want in here. We're using Apache Tika to do the parsing of these different document types. So markdown is easy. It's small enough. It'll work. But there's our bits. When we start up, let's ingest all the documents. Hey, if it's empty, let us know. And we're in good shape. So when it started up, we should see something down here. It said ingestion complete with one document. That's fantastic. So our app is up and running. I might need to make those match. I can do that. So Tika reads any format. The splitter creates the overlapping chunks. Fantastic. So now this key concept is this token text splitter. So let's find that code. The token text splitter is here. And I'm going to modify this slightly. I'm going to do this in my documentation. This is on line 78 right now. But I'm going to go back to the docs to make it consistent. Close. This way. We're working through. I'm just trying to make this workshop easy for everybody to enjoy. We'll throw it in here. That's Java. And this is a Reveal.js feature, 78. Oh, 78. So that'll give me the line numbers so that our students that are doing it, they know exactly where to look. Line 78, things are looking good. I'm going to do this just to make it match. Fantastic. Again, I'll fix the fonts. So we're in a good spot where we've decided, hey, here's how we want to chunk things up. And that's configurable. We can make those changes and we can see bigger documents, that chunk size is going to matter. How big of a chunk do you want to store in your vector database? So, but we'll save that for later. Other key concept is the vector store. We're using Redis. There's lots of vector stores. If we go to start.spring.io, we jump over here to our dependencies. I think there's 12 or 14. I do vector. There's Milvis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh my goodness. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and more, depending on which version you're using. 2020, 22. So there's lots of options for your vector store. My recommendation, use what's in the building. Use what you have. You don't have to go and grab another one. The little milliseconds that you're going to get difference between one or the other in each use case, use what you've got. You've probably got a vector store in the building. Start there is my recommendation. Let's keep going on our notes. Fantastic. Redis Stacks includes Redis search with native vector similarity. Fantastic. Key concepts, question and answer advisor. This is where the magic happens. All we're going to do, remember our chat client kind of being that key component. In our chat client, we have a default system prompt. We can also add a default advisor. We can say, hey, when you're doing stuff, we have a vector database over here for the things that we might want to have more information about. I got a vector database over here, a vector store. And I can say like how close things need to be in order to be considered similar. And I can choose how it's doing, how it's grabbing that information. So let me take a quick look, make sure that things are matched up. I have a new default prompt. I'm going to grab this whole thing. I want to make this match. Just so that my code matches the docs. Trying to get that high quality experience. Nope, not there. Here is our vector store. I made updates, and I'll tell you a little secret. The default system prompt, I was using a different model before, and I needed to add additional information in order to get the other model to do what I wanted it to. So we're just going to leave this here for now. So everything matches. I'm going to do this also. I'm going to bump it over just to keep the align. And I'm going to capture, make sure it's got the line numbers. So it's easy to find. 24. Fantastic, fantastic. We're just getting through this quick. Wait, why isn't it showing the line numbers? What did I do wrong? Am I in the right spot? I had the same code twice. Wait, that's not here either. Let's hit that real quick. Oh, there it is. There's 24. Yep. So this should be the exact same. Chat client. Line 24. Oops. This is just clean up. Fantastic. The advisor, this advisor here intercepts every prompt. So make sure, like, I'm going to go and get the additional information and inject it into the prompt. So we had our default system prompt. Whatever comes in, whatever user prompt comes in, I'm always going to grab this default advisor list and grab the question answer advisor always for this. So now we've got a controller. Again, this is how we're going to take our questions, how we're going to get our questions into the AI. That's fantastic. Here, I just want to make sure it lines up. Good. We have our chat client, constructor injection, easy peasy. The defaults are already set. And here, I think I can copy all this too. Easy peasy. Fixing the docs just to make sure it's the same. I'm not doing anything fancy here. There we go. And I can close this out. I'm just giving you that line number. 20 little things. Hopefully those little things matter. People appreciate it. Done. Make sure you know where you're at. And it looks identical to lab one. The rag is invisible at this layer, just like the system prompt. So now the hands-on, we're going to run it. We're already running it, and we're going to test it. Like, what are the testing guidelines? Right? Stuff that well, hopefully it knows now because I've given it my document. It's ingested that document, so I can ask it about testing. So let's go see. Let's see what our response looks like. I'm going to modify this. Oh, it's on port 8082. Let's see what we get. Let that go. I'm going to add that HTTP one. 82. Ask question what are the testing guidelines? So here, it gave a very good answer. It actually pulled the entire thing back and it said, hey, according to the provided context, the testing guidelines for a Spring Boot project are as follows. It filled in the blanks. So that's a good thing. So now it doesn't have to hallucinate. It doesn't have to make it up. It has the information. It was fast-ish. I could get that information. Let's go ahead and do that time just to see. And actually, we'll do it this way. We'll do it with this version. Time. Hello. What is it doing? Time. There we go. Pass it in. We're just doing it again. Seeing how long things take. 30 seconds, 40 seconds. That's not going to make anybody happy. So I'm going to have to fix that. That was 12 seconds. Fantastic. I didn't have to think a whole lot. But we got our good guidelines. So, boom. So far, so good. Response. It cites your actual documentation, not hallucinated generalities. So now we're going to add some runtime ingestion. So here, I think before that, what I was having them do in the previous version of this is, hey, it does that. This way. Fantastic. I'm going to go up here. Let me just make sure. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. I want this to be down here. Hands on, we do the thing, ask, then respond. Boom. Now we're in good shape. Baby steps. At this point, you've stood up something. You've taken a model that is from 2023. It's running on your machine. You're still not having to spend any tokens in the cloud. And now you're bringing in your own documents, and you're going to ask your little thing running on your laptop. You're going to ask it about your information. You're going to give it your details. And for a while, we were doing these really interesting pipelines, like when data changes in the database, automatically, do something with RabbitMQ, send that data, send that updated information over to the vector database so that we could search across it quickly. That makes absolute sense. It worked. And the similarity search that you get with Spring AI, with these databases, is amazing with these vector stores. It's powerful stuff. So now, lab 2 exercise, add a runtime ingestion. We're going to add a ingest method, right, to this doc agent controller. Just add a new method. I should be able to just kind of copy and paste this and ingest a live URL and ask questions about it. So let's do that real quick. Let's go here to our service. That worked. Oh, I wanted to have, I'm going to put a to-do block here. This one right here. So in real time, oh, no, that's the endpoint that I copied. I want that in my controller. There's the endpoint. There's beeping. And then we also, oh, there's more steps. I want to make this a little easier. But maybe this is where I was getting into, like, you've got to figure this out. So here's the endpoint that we're calling the ingestion service. In order to call the ingestion service, yeah, I want to do it the Spring way. Right, final. What do I call it? Document ingestion service. Ingestion service. We'll bring one of those in here. Fantastic. And we'll inject it, constructor injection, right? Document ingestion service, ingestion service. So now I've got the ingestion service, but we didn't add anything. We didn't do anything extra to the ingestion service. We need to add this ingest URL method. So we go over here. I will put a placeholder in here. And I have an example, but now I'm running out of time. So let's do this real quick. Let's go. I am grabbing it from the previous workshop. I think. New window. It's on another computer. But we're just going to fill that in. I want that. Why is it working? Uh-oh. Why is this not working? This is a Microsoft Surface that is new to me, and I don't know how to power it on. Actually, labs, I had the version that we did. Maybe. So this is where I want to understand what I did. So the rest of it makes sense. So I'm going to try to switch power. To get this version that we did on Saturday. I would like to stay aligned with that. And let me know if, can you hear the beeps? Can you hear the pings and pongs in the background? The messages that I'm getting. I don't want that. I don't want you to be distracted by that either. Looking. I just gotta check it with work, make sure I'm not missing anything, because I've heard a lot of extra noise. Oh, perfect. Fantastic. So all the extra noise, all the work stuff is all good news. Please hold. I'm just taking a slight detour. I will be right back. Just catching up. Talk amongst yourselves. Have you taken Java 26 for a spin yet? Have you installed the Java 27 Early Access Edition? If not, why not? Java 26 has been out for like 2 weeks. Why isn't this laptop working? Am I hitting the right power button? Here we go. I'm all discombobulated. Here we go. So that laptop was like dead. Please continue to hold. This is where the workshop lives that we did on Saturday. And this is what I'm updating. So I'm changing this workshop so that I can do it again later. And I've changed the model. The changing the model in this workshop has made a significant impact. And I made a couple of other changes. And I'm just kind of cleaning up the slides. I didn't present it with slides. I did a pure code workshop on Saturday. And I'm just grabbing the example that we did. Fantastic. Oh, I also switched from Qdrant to Redis. I think we're here. We'll replace all this. Actually, I don't need to do that. Please hold. Labs, lab 2. I'm going to ingest URL. And I want that to be, I'm going to put that in the docs. Add runtime ingestion. So here's the controller. And then ingest live URL and ask questions about it. So then let's go back to our docs. We're down here, add this. I'm going to add another page. Java. Here it is. We can put that. Let's make sure that shows up. That should go in our service. It's there. Is there anything else I need to do? I think that's it. Let me just update that doc. Fantastic. Check out the docs. We should all be able to play along, and then just live docs. So cool. So now let's restart it. We're restarting lab 2 with our new changes. This is exactly what the class will do in the NW spring boot run. Now I should have a new endpoint, and I should add to the doc here a little bash command to explain, like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to HTTP. What port are we on? 8082. And we did the method, I think was called ask or ingest. Oops. Here, so ingest the document. And this is exactly what a lot of the agents are doing now, right? Ingest, right, the documentation, the URL equals HTTP spring.io. So we start it up. I'm going to hit, I don't need that one. I'm going to go back over here, clear. First thing I'm going to do is let's ingest that document. Uh-oh, we're running into our first problem. Oh, it's going to be a post. Is it just like this? I think. Nope, we didn't like that. Post, close. Input stream must have more than 0 bytes. What did I do? That does exist. There we go. Did that work that fast? Ingested. Wow, that was fast. So now we can go ask questions about spring.io. What can Spring do? So now let's ask, where was I at? Here. HTTP 8082 ask, right, is the endpoint. Yep. Question equals what can Spring do? So the document's been ingested. Hopefully this works. If you'd like me to try, what are we doing? Hey, I am going through the workshop that we did on Saturday with the Nigeria jug, and I've made it better. I hope that I've made it better. I switched the model, a smaller model that downloads faster, and it's a coder-based model. It's still old, a little bit newer than the one we used on Saturday, and I'm just fixing the documentation, fixing the GitHub repo, because I want to do parts 3 and 4 again, and I want to redeliver it. So I'm just kind of making it work, prettying it up, and making it available. So just updating the workshop that we did, adding some documentation, adding some slides. So there we go. It pulled this information. Spring can do a wide range of things, including, and it pulled all of this information, reactive architecture, cloud ready. It pulled all of that information from here. That's wonderful. I'm happy about that. But yeah, this is just like what your coding agents are going to do, except we coded this. We've done this. So now this whole workshop, thank you for asking the question. The whole workshop is, I want you to understand that you can build these cool, powerful agents to fit your needs. Using Spring AI. And this is wonderful. So we're here. I'm going back to the docs. We did this thing. We ingested a live URL. And we asked questions about it. So now we validate. I'm going to move this. We'll run the test before we start the lab, make sure that everything's working. Key takeaways. What did RAG do? It grounded our LLMs. It brought our LLM that's only been trained up till 2023. We gave it all the new information. We ingested a document so that it knows about our stuff. And when we didn't have the document already in our class path, we went out and grabbed the information that we needed. And we put it into our vector store, and then we used that vector store as our collection, right? As an additional database. And then anytime that we had a question for that endpoint, we would grab the information that we could out of the vector store, and we'd feed it into the prompt. We'd feed it to the LLM. Redis provides that out of the box. And the controller code, very similar. Like, it's just plug in. The only thing we did was we populated that vector store with the additional information. And it was fast. So this workshop, hey, yes, long time no see. Welcome. I'm just walking through a workshop. I've got a couple more minutes. Just walking through some examples. So the cool thing here, I got to fix my notes, right? We want this to be pretty. We did the validate. We're going to move that. We did the key takeaways. What I need to do is move this part. I'm going to move this down so that things look pretty. So now we did this kind of like step-by-step walkthrough. And now we're on to step 3 of this quick little lab that it's actually going pretty fast, right? How long have we been on? An hour. That resonates. Lab 3. Now we're going to do an agentic workflow, right? If I have the answers, this makes RAG even better. That's not the only thing. It's better for testing. It's declarative. And it makes it so that we get better answers. Here's the cool thing. Here, the answers that we've been getting, they've been text that we have to parse, we have to figure out. Of course, Spring AI can do structured output, but when you're doing these agentic workflows, when you're connecting the dots, you want to make sure that you have all the information. You want to make it as deterministic as possible when you're doing these agentic workflows, whether it's for your coding assistants or for something that you're running inside of your business or your enterprise. You want to have consistency, right? You want to have a little bit of confidence in what you're getting. So some of the problems with hard-coded workflows, right? This traditional approach. We go say, hey, analyze code, right? Do the thing. And we get, this is, I'm not showing an example of traditional approach, right? You might do this. You might say, hey, do this, then do this, then do this. Some of the other frameworks kind of have that rigid step-by-step way of doing things. That makes sense. But I'm talking about even what we just showed, there's good and bad. What we've done here is we're using Spring AI's capabilities for structured output, and we're making sure that we have some type safety in what we're doing. So yeah, if you add a step, you have to rewrite the whole orchestration if you're using some other frameworks or you're doing these hard traditional RAG workflows. So in this lab, we're going to do a code review agent using Embabel's goal-oriented action planning planner. GOAP. So you define what the agent can do and what it should achieve. The planner then discovers the path automatically. So this is actually really, really powerful. The key concept here is the annotation model. So we can identify an agent, we can create an agent, we can give it some actions. You can do this, this, and this. Your inputs are going to be this way, your outputs are going to be that way, and you can say what goals you can accomplish. So we're going to use these domain objects, Java records, to have that type safety, right? One output of a goal is going to be the input of another, or of an action. It's going to be the input of another action. So the planner will connect it. If it can find a path, it'll use it. And there might be more than one. So the key concept here is this goal planning, goal-oriented action planning. So we're going to use, in this example, code review requests. I'm going through this really, really fast. I'm not going to explain these because I only have 10 minutes. So I'm just going to walk through. The planner sees this. Hey, analyze code, takes a code review request and returns code analysis. Write report, takes a code analysis and returns a review report. So the goal is review report. Fantastic. We can connect the dots. We don't have to wire these things manually. So I've got a domain model. These have been updated. Let's go look at our domain models. We're in lab 3 now. And just, yeah, everybody. Oh, my camera's froze. Can you still hear me? Is this thing still on? This is awkward. This happened during the workshop as well. That's a bummer. Not that I need to be here, but I am very disappointed that my computer is behaving this way. I will try to get the camera on. Yeah, the video's stuck. Thank you for that heads up. I'm going to try to fix that real quick. And if not, that's okay. It's just a tiny little distraction. I think I know how to fix it, but I might not. Hopefully that worked. All right. All right, you can hear me. Thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate you. So what we have here on the screen is our domain model, but again, I made updates. That's the old documentation. I want to bring us into this new lab. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to stop lab 2. We're going to shut that down. We're going to switch into lab 3. First thing we're going to do, again, I'll update these, is we're going to make sure that it's connected and it works. Lab 3 has some additional tests. It'll take a minute because these tests are actually hitting the LLM, but that's good. It's going to run. I'm going to fix the documentation here. I've got my notes. It says, hey, this is going to take a little bit longer. Yep, traditional approach. What you're going to build, code review agent. We did the explaining. That's what it's going to look like. The planner sees the domain model. So I want to update this domain model. I did a couple of things just to, again, I was making adjustments because I was practicing this workshop with multiple LLMs. The whole goal of this workshop is I wanted a workshop that will work on a laptop that only has 8 gigs of memory. Let's go take a peek at that real quick. Right, this laptop, 8 gigs of memory. So that's powerful, right? That's not a big deal. I think most people, developers that would be doing this exercise, I think today in 2026, I think most, maybe not all, but most have 8 gigs on their laptop. So, but I didn't want to require any more than that. So I had to find the right model. I had to do a little bit of finagling in order to make it work. And that's totally okay. But that was one of the goals, is you can do this really powerful stuff locally on your own laptop. So in order to do that, I just made it a little bit easier. So let's go look in these domains. I have a code review request. I can take that. I'm going to put that into my docs. I just modified it slightly. Okay, code review request. That's what I'll pass in. I have a code analysis. I made a little bit of a change to the code, and the change that I made wasn't really a big deal, right? I don't think that's a big deal. Code analysis, we're just updating the docs, so things look the same. I'm going to do it like this. Just so that it's clear that those are separate. Code analysis, an additional constructor, Java. I've got more. The review report looks like this. The review report has a code analysis verdict. And I made that in enum so that my prompts wouldn't have to be as big. But I don't think I'd modified the prompts. So instead of just having a string verdict, this is a part of getting that consistency. And really, these are lessons learned from trying to do this on older models. That's pretty much the point, because I've done a little bit of extra work. So there, and I will also add code analysis verdict. Right, just that enum. Nope. Oh, here. I'm gonna put that into my doc. Oh, and there's my 5-minute flag. I'm gonna put this here. Fantastic. That's all we have right now. That's all that matters. There's another class there, but that's all that matters. The types are the contract. We start with a code review request. Then we get a code analysis of that code. And then we get a review report that says, hey, here's what I've seen, and here's my verdict. That verdict is either going to be approve it, request changes, or we need a discussion. Right? Simple. But I'm using this model. I'm feeding this model. I'm making this agent so that we can do things like this. I can have somebody review my code. That's wonderful for me, right? I like that idea. I've updated the docs. Ooh, let's go back here. We're running out of time. Hey, here's the agent. Let's go. I'm just going to update the docs. The agent is here. I hope I didn't copy any code. There's some stuff. Action 1. So my agent is defined here. Here's the description of what it does. It reviews Java source code and produces a structured report. And here's those actions that we talked about. We're going to analyze the code. If I get a code review request, again, that code review request has certain things, but it's got to be that type. Here's our code review request. It's got some source code. It tells us what language it's in, and it gives us a context. And tell us a little bit about the code, where it lives, et cetera, what it's supposed to do. And then it analyzes it, like find bugs, errors. But this is the prompt. Right? We're saying, hey, with the default, with the LLM that's set up, here's the information that we want to know. Right? Here's the context. Here's the prompt. We're filling it in. And we're saying, hey, again, a lot of this is to fit with the other models that I did. I'm going to do some cleanup here, but I am now running out of time. This is cool. After I get this code analysis done, or after I call this, the output is a code analysis. That code analysis then is the input for a review report. So when I run this, I've got that strong type safety. I don't have to do a bunch of parsing. It's spitting out a code analysis object. And then it's going to produce a human readable code review report. And this is what it looks like. So this is powerful stuff. So this is the exercise. I apologize that I didn't get through this as fast enough, but that's also an exercise for me. EMOC says, what do you use to run the model locally? LM Studio or something similar? So at the beginning of this exercise, I set up the infrastructure. I set up a Docker Compose that is running Ollama for this workshop. It's running Ollama and Redis as the vector store. So I have a full, I have all the tools needed. I got a vector store so I can pull in my own documentation, my own data, and I can feed it. I can prompt stuff it into the LLM, and I can choose which model I want to run. So for this example, we started with Quinn 2.5 coder here. This is a tiny model. It's only like 900 megs, but it works. It gets us to this point where at the end of this workshop, you've got an agent that's not only able to do like a code review, give you some information about the code that you selected, but then lab 4 is you actually build an agent that will actually modify your code, add code for you, that code assistant. And this is the whole idea of the workshop. So I will probably come back and walk through this again without making changes to the documentation while I'm doing it. This is powerful. I appreciate you joining, but now I have to go do a different type of work. So thanks for joining, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.